Hey y'all, I am going to get a quick project done. I've got a few potatoes left that I need to get planted that I've just kind of been trying to figure out where I'm going to put them, and I finally decided I'm going to go ahead and use the grow bags that I have left. Looks like I've got 5 left. Don't know that I'll need all 5, but I'm going to get the rest of these potatoes planted up so that I can be done with that. You guys know my growing season, I try to wrap up by May 31st, anything that's going to be planted, and then I just kind of shift into maintenance mode for June, July, and August, and then I restart my garden with seeds in September and August, somewhere along there. Usually September, sometimes it's, the end of August. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these potatoes put into grow bags. And I think I'm also going to maybe start some squash in grow bags so that I can get it onto the west side of the house where it'll get a little bit more sun and get a little bit bigger and better chance for a good yield. Let me go ahead and get set up, and I'll see you guys in a second. I got everything I need, or at least I think I have everything I need. I'm going to use these bags to finish these up. Looks like I have enough to do all 5 of those, but I don't really want to. So I'm kind of gonna, against my better judgment, I'm gonna kind of overload these things with potatoes. The potatoes that I have are what are these called? Purple Majesty, I think. The flesh is a really dark purple, like it will stain your hands purple. And the potatoes are all about this size. I do have a few others that are like really small. So I'm going to overload these things with potatoes and just hope for the best. If I can get small, bite-sized potatoes out of these bags, it'll be plenty, because I have all of the green stalks. Well, not all of them. I have all 4 tiers of the 2 brown green stalks filled with potatoes, and then I have 1 tier of my basket weave green stalk in the back that has potatoes. So not a big deal if I don't get palm-sized potatoes out of these. So what I'm using in these bags is Land and Sea compost, the Miracle Grow moisture control potting mix, and then I'm going to amend it all with chicken manure, plant tone, and bone meal. In all of my other containers with potatoes, I did use earthworm castings. Oh my gosh, these little gnats are driving me crazy. I used earthworm castings, but I'm all out of them, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the chicken manure for the extra nitrogen. And the plant tone will take care of everything else. Put a little bit of bone meal in here. Because potatoes, they do want to eat. They do want to eat. Now, I wasn't going to, but I guess I'll go ahead and fold them down just to kind of conserve my soil that I do have. So I think I only have 3 bags of Land and Sea, and if I fill these all the way up, I got 2 bags of Miracle Grow, but I don't want to fill these all the way up until they come up through the soil. Then I'll just add a little bit more. So I'm going to do 1 more. I don't know if you guys can really see. I probably need some light on. So now I'm going to do all of my amendments. I'm going to do the bone meal, just a little layer. Bone meal. Plant tone, which is just a general purpose organic granular fertilizer. Works for just about anything. If you have to add things like soil acidifier, then you can do that, or you can just buy one of the pre-mixed that already has the soil acidifier in it. And then I'm going to get some cow manure. It's not cow manure, it's chicken manure. Granular chicken manure. Just get some nitrogen in there. Just give it a little. Now these are all organic granulars, so they are not going to be immediately available to the potatoes. In about 2 weeks, with our temperatures, if I leave these out with the other potato grow bags, in about 2 weeks, all of this will be broken down enough that the potatoes can use it. So for the time being, as they are pushing up through the soil, they'll be using what's in the land and sea and what's in the potting mix. All right, so let's just start by placing these potatoes in here. Try to do, I don't really have the space to put the chitted side up completely. Typically you want to plant them in this position because the sprouts are coming up, but I don't really have that kind of space in here unless I fill this thing all the way up to the top, and I don't want to do that. So I am going to put, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I can get 6 of these little potatoes in here. Put one in the middle, and I'll just do one right here. And I'm going to fill the rest up with potting mix. Just right on top. I won't water these tonight. This potting mix has a little bit of moisture in it, and I think that's enough to let these start to come up. Probably won't water them the first time until, I don't know, maybe Wednesday. By Wednesday, because it's so warm during the day, I think these will be dried out enough that I'll need to add the little spritz of water. But for now, I'm going to just leave them with what they've got. The land and sea also has a bit of moisture in it, so they aren't going to dry out like that. So that one is done. Let's see if I can reach the other one without killing myself. This is probably the last year for these grow bags. I've had these for probably about 9 years, and I don't use them every single year, so they're not getting beaten down with the water and the sun every year. But if you're going to use grow bags, you can expect that they're only going to last for a couple seasons before the fabric starts to break down. I don't know if you can tell. Oh, there's a spider. Hey. But yeah, the fabric's going to start to break down just naturally because it's getting wet and it's getting cooked in the sun, and it's just not going to last forever. But I think if you can get more than 2 years out of your grow bags, you're doing pretty good. And I have planted in these at least 3 times. Like I said, I don't use them every single year. So now let's go in with our amendments. Really, I'm planting these because I just don't want these potatoes to completely go to waste. So this is just kind of reassurance that I'm going to get some kind of harvest. Had a very disappointing potato harvest last year. I did plant the potatoes in grow bags, but I think I only planted 4 or 5 bags, and I never fertilized them. So it was my fault that I did not get a decent harvest. I can't be upset with the potatoes. I didn't fertilize them like I knew I should have. I put them in and I forgot about them. And just one day I walked past and there was nothing growing in the containers, and I'm like, oh crap, I planted potatoes and I never fertilized them. And now all the foliage is gone. So, not gonna do that this year. We're gonna take care of our potatoes this year. My focus this year has been on really expanding the vegetable component of the garden, not so much focus on the ornamentals, although I do love my ornamentals and I will always love my ornamentals, but I'm spending a little bit more time on food production this year, and it has been quite a challenge because of the rats. They set me back a good month or more, and then I don't know about you guys, but this has been a very abnormal year for weather here in Southwest Florida, because we actually got winter in 2024 and even coming into 2025. So I know, relatively speaking, we still did not get winter, but when you think about how our first frost isn't usually until late January, early February, and we started getting cold fronts in November, it just wasn't normal for us. And because my season is September through May, I did what I always do, and I started my seeds in late August, beginning of September. Pretty sure I did start some seeds in late August this year because I was anxious. I was ready to get back into the garden. And that first cold snap came in, and most of my seedlings weren't old enough to deal with the drop in temperature, because I do start my seeds outside. And I'm not really sure. I guess I just didn't believe that this cold front was actually coming. I mean, I hear them say all the time, oh, we got a cold front coming, we got a cold front coming. And it ends up being something like the temperature drops into maybe the upper 60s. That's not cold. And it's really not bothering most of my seedlings when I start them in the end of summer or beginning of fall. But I want to say that first cold front, we went down into the 40s. And for a very young seedling that's really just emerged from the soil and had no protection, really, none whatsoever, because I do have heat mats, but I don't typically use them because it's usually hot enough for just about any seed to germinate here. And I didn't do anything. I didn't cover any of the seeds. I didn't bring them inside. I didn't do anything because, like I said, I wasn't expecting it. So I lost pretty much that whole early tray of seeds. And I said, okay, well, it's no big deal because I'm starting early anyway, so who cares? You know, you win some, you lose some. I took a chance and, you know, I lost at that game. Well, I went ahead and started another round of seeds, and this time I really focused on starting all the seeds that I typically would do, which is almost everything. I even start my tomatoes and my peppers in fall because of the way our weather is, and I need to have a good enough chance to get them to size and producing before our heat starts to roll in. And we had another cold front. And with that next cold front, I believed him that time. So I went out and I covered all of my seedlings. And some of them made it and some of them didn't. Because again, with seedlings, they're coming up at different stages because of their germination rates and the amount of time it takes for certain things to germinate. So they were coming up, and just at the nick of time, here comes a cold front where we're again dropping down into the 40s, and it took out my second batch of seedlings. And then we had another round. I've restarted seeds for this season 5 times, 5 or 6 times. So this has not been, a fun game for me this year. Started seeds again, and at that point it was, normal time for me to be starting seeds, but still a little bit late in the game. I want to say it was October or so I started seeds again, and everything germinated, everything was doing great. I had over 200 seedlings going and looking great. I wasn't having any damping off. I didn't have, poor germination rates on anything really. Nothing out of the ordinary. I do grow a few things that have poor germination rates, and I always overseed those, so I compensate for that. But I then had the trauma of going outside to water my seedlings, because I typically water my seedlings in the trays every 3 to 4 days. It sounds crazy, but because I start my seedlings outside and our humidity is normally at least 75%, there's enough moisture in the air that soil does not dry out very much. So every 3 to 4 days I go out and I check on my seedlings, and went out that day, and the tops of every single seedling were chewed down. And I looked around and I'm going, what the heck did this? Because I didn't see any holes in the screen, and nothing looked really out of the ordinary. Well, I started the seeds again. And again, all of the tops were chewed down. And I told my husband, I said, there is a rat coming in here chewing down my seedlings. I found teeth prints in some of my flower leaves, and it just wasn't normal. There was nothing else going on wrong with these seedlings except that they were being chewed off. And so I told my husband, go take a look on the lanai and see if you can find the hole. And he found both holes that the rats had chewed in the screen. They were coming in, and they were basically just going right up to my seedling racks and just having a field day. It's like I planted them a smorgasbord, and they were saying thank you. They didn't leave any tips though, so I wasn't real thrilled about it. And so then I just, we took care of all of that, and that's when I made my special concoction of baking soda and Jiffy mix, and it's been working, guys. It doesn't completely eliminate them. I mean, they are gonna come back, but the ones that are present at the time, if they eat this mix, they die. And it was important to me. I didn't want to really poison them because we have a lot of wildlife, and I didn't want any of our birds of prey eating one of them, or, you know, even our bobcats eating one of them after being poisoned, and then they're getting sick and dying. So I just kind of looked around until I found some kind of solution to try, and a few YouTubers were saying this is what they did in their barns, and it worked. It does work. You do have to keep it out all the time because new rats are going to come around, and as long as that mixture is out there, they're going to eat it and they're going to die. And so that's where I am, and so far it's been pretty good. I do still have a few issues here and there. Like I did notice the rats are coming back into the greenhouse, and they're eating the mature kale now as it's growing, but nowhere near like they were before. And quite honestly, I don't even mind sharing. I know that the wildlife is here. I know that they're going to help themselves to my stuff, and that's why I plant more than I need. But come on, save me a little bit, you know, don't eat it all. I don't do all this work to feed rats, for sure. But that's kind of where I am with this whole gardening game right now. It's just there's a lot of frustrations with it. It's just been a challenging season because of the weather and the vermin. But I gotta tell you, I had a moment. I had a moment where I considered giving up for the year and just saying, you know, it's not meant for me to grow anything to eat. But I went to church one Sunday, and I swear the message was for me. The message was for me, and it was all about not giving up. You know, there's challenges in life, but we aren't supposed to see challenges and just quit. We're supposed to have some tenacity. We're supposed to persevere. You know, we're supposed to pray and ask God for help and guidance. And so that's what I did. And the rats almost broke me. I'm not gonna lie, they almost broke me. I had several days where I basically just sat and wanted to cry. But I mean, I got through it, and I'm at this point now. So still planting things, still hopeful, still positive, because there's one thing about being a gardener is that every single seed that you plant, every plant you put in the ground, you've got to have some faith. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. So I do have the faith that I'm going to get some production. I do have the faith that it's going to be a positive year. At this point, I'm just not so sure what I'm going to get, because it's been a restart over and over and over and over. And we're getting late now. We are almost mid-March. I can't believe this coming week we are in the middle of the third month of the year, and I just don't feel like I'm where I should be with the garden. But for the first time, I've actually walked around and I feel good about every single space. Is every space perfect? No. Every space is not perfect, and this is real gardening, guys. I am not a show gardener. I'm not doing this, you know, to be in magazines. I just love gardening, and my garden is for my enjoyment. I'm always happy to hear that other people are enjoying it. I do get my neighbors all the time, when they're walking their dogs, stop by and go, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And even when I don't think it's beautiful, they can always see something that's beautiful. And they'll point out to me, oh my gosh, I love this plant that you've got over here. And oh, I look at this bloom in the mornings and it makes me so happy. that's really all I could ask for. If my passion for gardening is bringing somebody else a little bit of joy, I've done my job. I've done my job. And so, I hope you guys still have that kind of passion in your own garden. This is the last grow bag that I have for potatoes. It looks like I'm going to be a couple bags short because I do still have 3 of those red potatoes that I planted in the old green stalk in the basket weed. I still have 3 of those left from the grocery store. I honestly don't remember buying these potatoes. I think my mom may have bought too many potatoes and just sent them over to my house because I swear I do not remember buying those. And they started to sprout, so I said I'll just plant them and see what happens with them. But this is my last grow bag that I have, and I'm gonna put in this one. I have no more of the purple. I'm going to put the last 4 of my Austrian Crescents in here. And I think I may be able to find a pretty large pot. I should be able to find a pretty large pot for not too much money that I can put the rest of these potatoes in. It's only 3. And I did consider putting them in the greenhouse, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not even going to try to figure it out right now. So I have the Austrian Crescents, and of the ones I have left, this one, which is why it gets the name Austrian Crescent, and it's not sprouting from too many places, but this tip and then a couple here, so I'm gonna just put it in here. Then I've got this little itty bitty one. I'll put that one there. I've got this one that is a little funny shape too, and then I've got this one that's just kind of sprouting from everywhere. I mean, some of these sprouts don't even need to do anything. Y'all, if you use organic fertilizers, be prepared to be annoyed, because every fly, every gnat, every whatever it is coming for you. I have had these things flying around my head the entire time I've been planting, and it's not fun. They irritate me, but I get it. It's good stuff. They want it. They want it. I really should just pick this bag up and pour at this point, but that's too much like right. So I'm gonna just keep grabbing it out of here and spilling it all over the place. I gotta sweep in here again anyway. I would like to get my car back in the garage tonight. I just don't know if it's gonna happen. I think I told y'all in a previous video, I don't know what I did with my microphone. I can't find the receiver or the actual mic. Now I do have an extra mic that came with that set. That I have. It's over on the charger. But I don't know what I did with my microphone. And that's disturbing, because that means the only thing I can record with is my phone, as it's the only thing that's going to pick up my voice unless I'm like right in front of it. All of my cameras will not get my voice. I gotta find it. Alright, let me see if I can find my marker. Where did I put my marker? Alright, let me see if I can find it. I know it's out here somewhere. Just don't really know where. Alright, I found my marker. It was actually inside the house on my desk. So, let me label these. So I got one Austrian Crescent. Something I'm going to try this year with my potatoes is once I unfold these and top them off with more soil, I'm going to come in and try planting a couple of bean seeds inside these containers and see if I can't get double duty out of these things. As I said, I don't think these are going to make it through this year and be okay after the summer. So I'm gonna try. It's a bit much for one container to have that many plants, but I'm gonna try it because gardening is one big science experiment and I'm here for it. So let me see if I can push it. Maybe I won't do every single one just in case it screws up my yield of either potatoes or beans. But potatoes and beans do grow well together. I just don't know if these containers can handle having that much going on to keep them properly watered and fed. Do y'all like to push the limits when you're gardening, or do you like to follow the rules? I'm very much a risk taker with gardening. There are some things that I won't play around with because I have to make sure that I'm going to get something out of my garden. Like, I don't like to take a whole lot of chances with corn because it's already so much working against me. But pretty much everything else is fair game. I'm going to try it. I used to grow 2 tomato plants in 15-inch terracotta pots. And that is the way I did it for a really long time because it was the only way I had enough space to be able to grow multiple varieties. And that's just what I did. I would get the terracotta pots, I would fill them all the way up with soil, and I would typically do 1 cherry tomato and 1 full-size tomato in the same container. I would just put 2 of those standard tomato cages, the ones everybody hates, and I would twist tie them together so that once the tomatoes started growing up through them, if one started to pull in that direction, the other one would kind of help hold it up. And that's what I did for a really, really long time, especially when I was renting, because I didn't have the space. Everything I grew was in a container. And I would grow no fewer than 15 different varieties of tomatoes. And it worked, guys. It worked. Take chances. Take chances. If it doesn't work, you don't do it again. Or if it doesn't work the way you thought it would work, you modify some things and try it again the next season with the modifications. I've got 2 more of these to write. I got a bit of dyslexia, so I have to pause talking while I'm writing. Otherwise, I will write what I'm saying. I know so many people that can just like sit at a computer and type and have a whole conversation with people. And how do you do that? How do you not write what you're saying? And I have written things, gone back to read them, and realized that I have the whole word inverted, or I'll have all the letters jumbled up. All the letters are the right letters of the word, but you can't figure out what the heck it's supposed to say unless you knew where I was going with it. All right, so I've got these now. Let me just get them put back in place on their little catch trays that I have down here. And we'll wrap up this video and call it done. Okay. Let's not use that ugly. I was going to say something to just put funny things and such. I'll leave that open. Where's the tag? Let me use these. I tried to look for it. The tag is already written before I write one. So it's going to be. That'll work. Alright, so I've got 1 Austrian Crescent. And make sure that one is on an end. And then the Purple Majesties. Purple Majesty. I think you can see it. I don't know if this is going to be backwards. I don't know. I know there is a setting on my camera that I can use the front or the back and they won't be backwards. I'll find out when I edit this video. Alright, so I got them all done and I'm going to flip the camera around and just show you where they are. You guys know where they are because you've seen. I gotta put my glasses on. It is so bright out here even though I'm in the garage. That, and I hate the way my face looks without my glasses. So let me just flip the camera around so that you guys can see them in the line, and they are sitting right in front of the tomatoes. So this is it. We've got the Austrian Crescent, the Purple Majesties, all in a row right next to the tomatoes. Now, one thing I do need to do, and I think I'll go ahead and get it done right after I finish up here, is I need to give a little bit of water here, and I will probably do a light layer of mulch since these guys have been sitting out on the driveway for a while and that sun is getting really intense. I'm gonna just show you guys really quick before I say goodbye. Doesn't that look good? So that is all I have for you guys today. Like I said, I have not lost my passion for gardening, even though it's been a very, very challenging season. I know a lot of you guys are amping up to get your season started. If you're in those really frigid areas where you got snow on the ground and you still can't put a shovel in, as you guys are amping up, don't let anything break your spirit. Keep gardening. You love it. That is why you do it. And your family gets to benefit from whatever harvest you get, whether it's small, whether it's big, whether it's not as tasty as you thought it would be. It's something that you grew and it's something that you should be proud of. Don't let anything break your spirit. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. I will see you soon. Bye.